In the narrow streets of Old Port, where the sea smelled of salt and forgotten promises, lived a girl named Lyra who never told the truth. She didn't lie because she hated people. She lied because the truth felt too small, too ordinary, like a coin with someone else's face stamped on it. Lies were brighter. They shimmered. When she spoke them, eyes widened, mouths opened slightly, and for a few seconds the world bent toward her like reeds in wind. She was 15 the summer she discovered how perfectly lies could fit inside another person. It started small. To the fishmonger's wife who asked why Lyra's mother never came to market anymore, she's away studying stars in the north. She writes me letters in silver ink. The woman pressed a free mackerel into Lyra's hands and whispered, "Your mother must be very brave." To the baker's boy who offered her yesterday rolls because she looked hungry, "I am actually allergic to wheat, but I eat it anyway to feel closer to my grandfather. He was a famous miller who drowned saving his grain sacks from a flood." The boy gave the whole tray and never charged her again. Lyra learned the shape of people's longing the way other girls learned the shape of shells. Everyone carried an empty place inside them. A lost sibling, a parent who never said goodbye, a dream no one believed in. Lyra simply filled those places with stories so beautiful they felt true. She never asked for money. That would have made it ordinary. She asked only for attention, for the brief glow of being believed. By 17, she had become a quiet legend in Old Port. Not loud like the traveling storytellers who banged drums and wore bells. Lyra was soft. She sat on the low stone wall by the tide pools, braiding seaweed into crowns, and people came to her the way moths come to lanterns. A widow whose husband had vanished at sea sat beside her one October evening. "My Theo would never leave me on purpose," the woman said, voice cracked like dry clay. Lyra looked out at the gray water. "He didn't," she said quietly. "He was taken by the Mero King to sing underwater hymns that keep the storms away from our coast. Every full moon he tries to swim back, but the current pulls him under again. That's why you still hear singing when the tide is high." The widow wept, not with grief, but with something gentler relief that sounded almost like joy. She pressed her wedding ring into Lyra's palm. "Keep it safe until he returns." Lyra wore the ring on a cord around her neck. It was heavy, but she liked the weight. The lies grew larger, more intricate. She told a fisherman his drowned son was now a lighthouse keeper on an island no map showed. She told a childless couple their stillborn daughter had become a seal who visited the harbor at dawn to watch them. She told an old sailor his leg lost to gangrene was growing back beneath the waves, silver and strong, waiting for the day he could walk on water. Each story left something behind in her, a small, bright bruise of guilt that never quite faded. Then came Mara. Mara was 19, quiet, with eyes the color of wet slate. She arrived in Old Port one spring, carrying only a canvas satchel and a photograph of a boy who looked too much like her. She found Lyra on the wall one afternoon and sat without asking. "My brother Elias disappeared 3 years ago," Mara said. "He went out in his skiff during a squall. They never found the boat. Everyone says he's gone." Lyra waited. "I don't believe he's gone," Mara continued. "I think he's still out there." Somewhere, Lyra felt the familiar pull of the hunger to give this girl something soft to hold. She opened her mouth to speak the usual kind of beautiful lie. But the words caught. She looked at Mara's hands, calloused, steady, the hands of someone who had spent years searching tide lines for driftwood that might have once been part of a boat. Lyra closed her mouth. For the first time in years, silence felt heavier than any story. Mara waited, patient, not angry, just waiting. Finally, Lyra said, very softly, "I don't know where your brother is." Mara nodded once, as if she had expected exactly that answer. "Then tell me something true," she said. Lyra looked down at the ring on its cord, at the seaweed crown half finished in her lap, at the gray sea that never stopped moving. "I'm tired of lying," she whispered. "But I don't know how to stop. When I tell the truth, people look past me. When I lie, they see me." Mara reached over and touched the ring lightly. "Maybe they see the lie instead of you. Maybe that's why it feels safe." Lyra felt the bruise inside her chest split open. Not painfully, just widely. For the rest of that spring, Mara came to the wall every afternoon. They spoke very little at first. Mostly, they watched the tide. Sometimes, Mara asked questions about the town. Lyra answered truthfully. Which streets flooded first? Which cats were friendly? How the lighthouse keeper took his tea. One evening, Mara said, "I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going north to look for him. There are records in the bigger ports. Ship logs." Maybe someone saw something. Lyra nodded. Mira stood. Will you tell me one last thing? Lyra braced herself. Tell me what you're most afraid of? Lyra looked at the water a long time. I'm afraid that if I stop lying, no one will ever look at me again. Mara bent and kissed the top of Lyra's head once, lightly, like sealing a letter. Then look at me, she said. I'm looking at you right now, and I see you. She walked away along the harbor path. Lyra watched until the satchel disappeared around the curve of the stone quay. The next morning, Lyra did not go to the wall. Instead, she walked into town and found the widow who had given her the ring. I'm sorry, Lyra said. Your husband is gone. He isn't coming back. I made up the story about the Marrow King because I wanted you to feel better, but it wasn't true. The widow stared at her for a long moment. Then she reached out and took the ring back. She slipped it onto her own finger. I knew, she said quietly. I always knew, but thank you for letting me pretend a little longer. One by one, Lyra found the others. The fisherman, the couple, the old sailor. Each time she spoke the plain, small truth. Each time someone cried, or grew angry, or simply walked away. But no one struck her. No one cursed her name in the streets. Some even thanked her, not for the truth itself, but for the courage it took to carry it to them. By autumn, Lyra was no longer a legend. She was only a girl who sat on the wall sometimes, braiding seaweed, saying very little. People still came, but fewer. The ones who stayed asked ordinary questions. She gave ordinary answers. And slowly, very slowly, the bruise inside her chest began to heal into something quieter. Not happiness, exactly, but space? Space enough to hold whatever came next, even the truth.